My name is Dewey Tomko. Been playing poker. I make a living since I was 15 years old. It's over 50 years. Um, Started in the back rooms of Glassport, Pennsylvania. Started playing in pool halls in the back room dealing. And while I was dealing, learning how to play. And you stopped dealing, you made money, and then you played poker. And fortunate enough, I was around a lot of people to help me. Uh, Being a young kid, they helped me learn how to play. Good, honest poker game too, because you don't want to be in a dishonest one. And then I went to college. Made my way through college playing poker. Made a living doing that. Fortunate enough to come to Florida, playing all the Moose clubs and Elks clubs down here. Got a job teaching school, making $6,100 a year. I had to supplement my income, and was fortunate enough to find poker games that were unbelievable, actually better in Vegas down here. It's like anything else. You start small, whoever you are, you start playing $5, $10 poker, and you go up to 25, 50, 100, and next thing you know, if you think you're good enough, you go try Vegas, and then Vegas gets higher and higher, and you keep going up the totem pole till you get to the top. Poker's a lot about survival. So I was a picky eater. Didn't come from a great family, but weren't very rich, and I liked things in life. The only way I could afford them was to play poker and make money. Caddy, everybody got a job doing that. Mine was playing poker, and they see how it is. But yeah, everything is about survival, and I think those days, people that are successful in poker, they learn how to survive. It's like a golf swing. Everybody got a different golf swing, and if you watch a golfer, you can tell who it is. Poker players all have a different style. The secret to poker, they can tell you what a great player and all this stuff. The secret is figuring out a way to win. So whatever game it is, figure out how to win in it, and whatever makes your style win. Some people win playing loose, some people win playing tight. The personality has a lot to do with it. So you just have to figure out a way what makes you win. And they can tell you you're good, you're bad, doesn't mean nothing. You got to win. You got to win not for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5. Got a lot of young kids out there think they're good players, are good players. Will they be good players 10 years or 50 years from now? People ask me all the time, are you a good player? I said, check with me in 50 years, I'll let you know. That's the way it is. I used to travel, even when I was teaching, like I tell you, but I'm embarrassed to tell you some of these things, but I used to fly to Dallas and El Paso and different places like that, California, only try to make a couple $1,000 because games weren't as big as they are nowadays. And I remember I used to go to Dallas, and I'd be playing with hitmen and bank robbers, the only ones that had money, So, but I played in one game. In those days, you didn't have dealers. Everybody dealt. So about 5 out of the 10 hands, if somebody was trying to cheat, we had to throw our hands in. So this is what's good about poker rooms. The cameras, they keep you safe. The old days, you had to just really watch yourself. If anybody asked you to play head up, you don't play head up, they were going to do something to you. That was years ago, 40, 50 years ago. Poker's really cleaned up now. Used to be, when I was in Polk County, living in Florida, it was kind of like people looked down on you for playing poker in the old days. The police were kind of after you. And then when I fly to Vegas to get off the plane, completely, you sign autographs. You went from not liking you to signing an autograph. Now it's a lot of famous people out of poker. It's come a long way. And it'll continue to get bigger and bigger, But the biggest thing I see is that people they don't understand the difference between tournament poker and live poker. They see things on TV where guys raised $2 million on a queen 5, and a guy raises them $6 million on a king 6. There's not one person here would put $1 in one of those hands in a live game. So the misconception's there. You can be a great tournament player and be a bad, table game player, or vice versa. Some people can do both, but most people can just do one. Well, I'll tell you how simple it was. I was teaching school, making $6,100 a year, and I went out there and is it Labor Day or Memorial Day in September? That's something. Which one? Anyhow, was it Memorial Day or Labor Day? September. Labor Day. So I went out and lost, wasn't much. I lost like $22,000 playing golf and making $6,100 a year. And there was a poker game that night, and I had to go back to teach school the next day. And I was going to make like $35 a day. I figured it out. And the same guys were playing golf, the same guys were playing poker. So I quit teaching on the spot. I went in, walked in, and told them, get me a substitute teacher. I'll pay for him. Didn't tell my wife. I had a kid at the time. Went back and tried to get my money. That's how I quit teaching. Yeah, most golf matches are made on the poker table. So guys I didn't even play golf at the time early, and they're betting all these money, on the table, and you're figuring out how you're always at a poker table trying to figure out how to get the money. So you realize some of them are betting sports, golf. I just met Doyle at the time. Me and Doyle and Chip became partners for 30 years, but I just met him. And he was talking about these big golf matches you win a couple $100,000 on. And I said, I got to learn how to play golf. So in the beginning, I was the biggest goose. They used to rob me. When I say rob me, I lost every time. They'd keep track of what I made that day, and I swear the next day they would beat me out of the exact amount. It was like a leak in the cage. Somebody was telling them what I won. But anyhow, I finally figured it out. I was choked. I'd cut the ball and just jumped back, praying it went in. But Doyle kept me broke for about 4 or 5 years until I finally turned it around on him. And I finally could beat him, and then he wanted to be a partner. That's how they operate around out there in Vegas. Yeah. So it took a few years to do that happen. I'll tell you a good story about him, if you want to hear a story. This is when I was still teaching, just out of school, right there. And I had a $98,000 bankroll. I remember it to this day. And I played poker. It was in the summer right before school while I wasn't teaching. And so I played poker 3 straight days. So I met Doyle. We're going to Nashville to play this guy, Sam Sims, golf. So I go up and get him off the plane in the morning. I said, Doyle, I can't play golf. I says, I just played for 3 days. Don't worry. He says, come on out to the golf course. You can bet on the side and everything like that. So anyhow, we weren't playing very high, like $10,000, $20,000 Nassaus. Anyhow, make a long story short, he beat me out of the $98,000. Sent me home that night. Didn't even get to stay in the hotel room. I had to go back to playing $1 and $2 poker to get my bankroll back up. So my buddy Doyle did to me. That was before we were partners, I faked an injury to go out there. I told my teacher I had a bad back picking the refrigerator up. So I went out there for it was only 13 days in those days, 10 or 13 days. So I went out for the whole 13 days, and I won a tournament when I was out there. So they put it in the newspaper, and they found out that I was out there playing poker, didn't have a bad back. Luckily, I knew the superintendent real good. I was betting football with him. So anyhow, I was going to tell you about the World Series. Yeah. It was so crowded in there. It was the World Series where we played poker was right down this aisle and right there. That's as big as it was. And we sat there, and the tables, like 10 tables there. To get back to the seat, we used to have to walk on the table to get all the way back to the seat. And that's when they all smoked. So they're smoking cigars, and here's a guy, they smoke their cigar. They don't smoke in front of you. They go like this, Sailor Roberts is how he smoked a cigarette. Right in your face. You burned your eyes. That's how they did it in the old days. They were characters. But the World Series grew in those days. We all have bracelets, but they weren't a big thing in those days because there was a good side game on there. Nobody ever quit a side game. You can make a lot of money to go play a tournament. And there was only like maybe 6 or 7, bracelets at that time. So it wasn't a big deal. That's why Doyle would have probably 20 or 30. It was a good poker game. He didn't play. And Chip never played in tournaments. He was the best player I ever played with, Chip. He never played in tournaments because he was always making more money on the side. And they weren't that big in those days, it wasn't a big deal. But it grew. Now it's a big deal. In fact, I have my bracelets, I don't even know where they're at. I mean, we used to get trophies, we just leave them in the hotel rooms to carry them home. Didn't mean nothing, Now I guess it's a big deal, I don't know. Very unique, completely different. Everybody was a character. Different personalities, just characters. I mean, friendly. It was what do you want to call it, a social event. We had fun, played poker. Now, I hate to tell you, when I go to play poker now, I mean, they tell jokes on, I don't even text. You see my phone over there. They don't tell a joke, they text it to them. And if you say you want to go get a cup of coffee, they don't say, hey, let's get a coffee to break. They text it. I mean, it's skillful, don't get me wrong, but it's not the social event it used to be. I enjoy playing with these guys. These are a great bunch of guys. I play way cheaper than I ever played in my life, but I enjoy them, and it's fun. I mean, for me to go out and play competitive, like when I play in the World Series every year, I sit down, I don't know anybody anymore. I used to know everybody, don't know anybody. I mean, you got people that don't speak the same language, and they all got headphones on. They got this in front of them. Your turn to act. Oh yeah, well, take 10 minutes to throw their hand in. It's just a completely different thing. And then the other thing that aggravates me the most is when they shouldn't say this, when they want to get on TV, they start putting Spider-Man outfits on and acting like idiots, and here comes the cameras. You know what I mean? I tell you, it's ruined poker in a way. You know what I mean? It used to be way more popular, I think. I used to have 29 World Series, televised 29 events. Now they do 2. Nobody wants to watch it. I personally haven't watched poker on TV in probably 10 years. That's terrible. I'm a poker player. I didn't know that. It's the way it is.
But you're a real poker player who loves the game.
Well, I still love the game. If it wasn't for poker, listen, I'd be digging ditches. So it's not that I don't like it. It just changed. It's like a generational gap for me. I had my time, my fun. The people I play with now, listen, those young kids are having a great time. They're enjoying life, you know what I mean? They're got adventure. They're making money. Don't have to go sit behind a desk. Going traveling the world. It's a great life for them. They can keep it up. The problem is when everybody don't survive. I could probably name 5 people that's probably survived over the last 50 years. I see them survive for 10 years. I see them survive for 10, 20. Try surviving 50 or 60 years. It's a little harder. We start off golf, poker. You just eventually get higher and higher. It used to be where the games now they're really, really high. So we used to play that high then too, but it was only a certain people played. We had like Frenchmen that would come into town. We'd have to get a bunch of guys together. Jerry Buss used to play, Gabe Kaplan. There wasn't as many. Now because of the World Series, they come from China, Germany, everywhere. So you go into like Bobby's room, and they got 3 games going on a list a mile long trying to get in the biggest games in the world. Well, before we used to have to organize to get a game. So the money, we played as high, just there wasn't as many people around. We couldn't play. Well, we had a golf sometimes, and when there was no game, we had to go fly to certain cities to beat guys out of golf, It was like a routine. Things are different. But, it's just those casinos out there, you got to give them credit. In the old days, we had to go find games. Like I'd fly to Texas, Dallas, Paris, anywhere I could go to get a poker game. Now, those kids just sit there. Casinos bring them in there, and they make it. I ain't got to worry about getting cheated. I used to have to worry about getting cheated. And if I make it, I had to get back to the hotel if I'd get robbed. So it's all kind of things in the old days. Now it's a lot easier for them, which is good. I'm glad it is. You don't have to worry about it. And people just show up, and if you're a good player, it's kind of like a banks. You know how the banks start like this, and they kind of gradually go to the top. And there's a top bank and all these things. Well, the poker player, whoever the best poker player, everything funnels up to him. You got the best guy in this town. He beats them guys. And they go out to Vegas, and next thing you know, this money. And when you try to step up, you don't quite make it. You go back and forth. Now, eventually somebody makes it up there, but you go up and down, and you keep trying. I've played with some of the best 20 and 40 limit players in the world, and when they went up to 80, 60, or 102, couldn't play. Don't ask me why. They just have a level where everybody's comfortable with. And the hardest part is, I think, for a gambler, a big gambler, is that they understand the game, how to play, the comfort level of moving up to an extreme amount of money. It takes a different breed. Now, how you do that, everybody's got a different personality. It's like golf. You get certain guys on a golf course, in the pro tour, you got a 5-foot putt, you know who you want putting for them. It's the same thing as out there, who you want making decisions for $1 million on a hand of your own money, not a tournament money. So it's a big, but to get to the top, it takes a long, long, slow process. And then once you get there, you got to stay there. And you get a lot up and down. Listen, I used to go play poker, and I'd go up, and I'd lose a little bit, and my bankroll would go down. You know what? I went back down. Go back up, get your bankroll build up, work your way up. That's because I had a family. So when you have a family, you have to do things different. Like guys like Stewie. We used to play a lot with Stewie. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Didn't have a family, didn't have nothing. It didn't make Stewie, if he had $1,000 pocket or $2 million, played the same. He had didn't care about his rent, stuff like that, paying the bills. So those guys are dangerous. They'll sit there and make way more money than I would ever make in a game, but they would lose way more money than ever moved in a game. So, and I've also seen a lot of poker players that were average poker players, like myself probably, that made a good living because of discipline, money management, just certain things. And I've seen really guys with a lot of talent like Stewie, never had a quarter because they had talent, but they didn't have no management. So it takes a little bit of everything in poker, not just ability. It takes management, ability, discipline. You walk from the poker room, what you got to do in Vegas. You got to pass girls, dice tables, blackjack tables, drinking. Luckily I never been anything with dope and stuff like that. But all these vices, you got to pass them. Well, a lot of them can't pass it. I mean, a lot of great poker players that didn't go down because of poker. They went down because of other things. So that's the way it is. Too many vices. You got to be able to control them. And then greed, envy, at a poker table, you got to be able to control because you're playing poker, and somebody's winning all the money and you ain't. You can't worry about that. A lot of people, they weaken. They say start playing hands. Envy, don't worry about these women. Greed, I got to get that money. You got to be patient. And people say, how you sit there and play? Well, you're playing for a lifetime, not for that day. Yeah, I do. I tell you what I did. One time it was a passion in my life so bad, and Jack Binion helped me out on this. I thought he was crazy at the time. So I'm playing. I love poker so much that I didn't know who the President of the United States was for 20 years. I never looked up. And I just played and played and played. And I loved it. And I said, I'll never get tired of this. Jack Binion told me one day, he said, you better start investing money somewhere. He said, there might be a time you might not want to play poker. I said, it's the dumbest son of a bitch I've ever seen. I didn't tell him that. So he maybe invest in stuff. And thank goodness he did, because about 5 years later, I got burned out on it. I just started playing up here about 2 years ago, but I quit playing poker for 10 years. So, I played in the World Series, but I stopped. I just so burned out on it. And if it wouldn't have been, I'd hate to be saying I had to make a living playing poker right now, because I don't think I could do it. I'd be burnt out on it, you know what I mean? So I play more of enjoyment. I go home every day at 5 o'clock, see my family. The old day I played 7 days straight sometimes to make the money, 4 days, 5 days. So things change, but I got burnt out like everybody does.
I'm just going to say, I think it doesn't matter what you do. At a certain point,
Yeah, you got to go. And I tell you, I'm enjoying it again. I quit for a while, and then I got back into 2001 again. I go through stages. Like I need something to challenge into me. That's why I took up golf or maybe businesses. I just need new things sometimes. I think everybody's like that. And every time I get out of my field, I wish I was back in it.
You realize how good you have it.
Yeah. I'm not that good of a businessman, but luckily I've been blessed with some businessmen that were smarter than me that I was in with. Well, first of all, I know this sounds corny to you, but I got to credit God and everything for it. I've been very religious. He's blessed me in a million different ways. If it wasn't for him, believe me, I couldn't do anything. And the older I get, the more I realize it. When I was young, I was cocky. If I fell off an airplane, I figured I'd survive. Now I know I'm not. But anyhow, my life has really changed. I go to church every day now, even though I'm a gambler. When me and Doyle and Chip used to play poker, we had what's it called when we had the my God, my mind's going. I'm getting old. When we had the church things where we'd have a preacher come in, and we'd have for every hour we'd all leave the poker table when the World Series was there, and leave everybody sitting there, and we went and had a church seminar, you know what I mean, for about 5 years. So I've always been kind of religious, but I go in and out. This is bad. Hopefully I'm in now and staying in. I'm a little older, but for a while I've been in and out at different times, and you kind of, like everybody else, you get away from the Lord and everything, But any poker player out there, I got one thing of advice for you, buddy. You better find the Lord. That's how simple it is. He'll bring you through some tough times. And I've been very blessed. I had, like I say, I remarried. I got an 8-year-old right now. My wife, Marinella. Got 3 boys from another marriage. And they're all really close, live close to me, real close. The Lord blessed me and found me I thought I'd get divorced. You think, well, maybe, he did something wrong, but I know I'm forgiven because he found me a new wife and kid, and everything's great. So that's why I go home at 8-year-old. I got to go home and play with my kid. Yep, it is. And of all the things you look back at, you think, well, you won this tournament, you won that, you won all this money playing golf, you did this and that. Anybody that's my age realize that none of that means anything. All you think about is what you did for your family and kids. They went to first grade, second grade, little league. That other stuff doesn't mean anything. But they don't realize it until they get older. I didn't realize it at that time either. That's just the way it is. Yeah, but there's some guys out there. There's a lot more religious. Barry Johnson, I think he's one of the influences of me and Doyle. And Barry, I remember he went to church every day of his life. So it and my grandparents went to remember people did it. Now I'm starting to do it. Maybe these guys know I do. Maybe to rub off on one of them. Maybe a lot of them, you know what I mean?
I mean, that would be the coolest.
Right, yeah. I listen to Joel Osteen a lot. Very motivating. I listen to him constantly. And people knock him for having money and everything like that and all that stuff. And I always tell them, I said, if you can just lead one person, you can lead one person to the Lord. You should be able all the money in the world. Wouldn't that be nice just to lead one person to the Lord? I mean, how many people have done that? Not too many, right?
My husband did to me, and I always think, like, I would love to do that for someone now.
Yeah, well, that's perfect. I mean, it's hard to do, but if you can do it, do it. It's not that easy. I don't know. Well, I guess they do. When I grew up, I never had a deck of cards in my house. I didn't want my kids to be poker players. Now, if I know what poker was going to become, I might have taught them. My one boy, Derek, plays here all the time. He's a good poker player. But I didn't bring it because I didn't want him to go through that life I did. I knew how hard it was. At any time, you could, listen, any given moment, as long as successful I was for 50 years, any moment, I could have went off the deep end. When I say went to the crap table, started betting football I couldn't afford, got on girls, anything could happen to me, and the whole life. And it's hard to go 50 years like that, having discipline. So I didn't want my family to have to go through that. I wish I just have a nice job, you know what I mean? But now there's so much money to be made out there with endorsements and stuff like that. It would have been probably worth its while. It'd like getting a Major League Baseball player or a football player now. But in my day, I didn't want my kids to do it. Texas just legalized poker. We're going down there and open a bunch of poker rooms. So I'm more in a business end of the port. I had a casino in Costa Rica for a while. So I'm more into not having to win. I'm on the other end, which is a lot easier on the other end, just getting money in than having to go out and, earn it playing poker. So that's my new ventures is just getting my family set for, like anybody else would. When I was young, I was doing everything, didn't think about it. Now you realize, all them young kids, they'll figure it out if they last till 70-something. But let me tell you something. They ain't figuring it out right now. They're having a good time, thinking they're never going to end. Like we used to play poker in certain places. Well, the best would never end. Next thing you know, 3 years later, I'll tell you a story. Steve Wynn, I used to be a good friend to Steve Wynn, Jack Binion, when he first owned the Gold Nugget. People don't remember that downtown. But he offered me to be run his card room. He's going to give me $900,000 a year and 10% of the card room. This was in 81. And I turned him down. You know why I turned him down? We was making so much money. I said, I think I'm going to work for a lousy $1 million a year. So how stupid I was. Well, 2 years later, or a year later, the economy went down. Poker games went from up here to down there. I'd have took it for $200,000 a year. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. But so the idea is the key. Remember this. You don't have to play the game. You might be a bad Omaha. You got to learn how to win in the game. People says, "Well, I'm a good Omaha player." I don't care. You're a good hold'em player. Good. Learn how to win in the game. Don't make no difference if you're good if you can't win. Learn how to win. That's the key. People don't understand that. You got depends on how the game is. Sometimes you have to play loose. Sometimes you have to play tight. Sometimes you just have, just have to learn what makes you win in that game. That's the key. Win. Period.